on YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It is Kevin Forte, and today we are taking a look at the New Jersey Devils ahead of tonight's live watch party, live stream. If you're a Devils fan, if you're a Penguins fan, make sure to check that out. Tonight we'll be live streaming the third period of that game. But the Devils are in a slump right now, and that's one of the reasons I want to watch this game is because I really haven't watched the Devils much. They have struggled a little bit. It's been one of those things where a player like Jack Hughes not being in the lineup is to the point now where him not being there really, really shows just how much of an impact he has on this roster. And unfortunately, the Devils' record has really taken a big dive since his injury. And, it's one of those things that it happens, right? It happens to every team in the league. You just hope it's at the right time. Now, luckily for the Devils, I will say this. They had a pretty good start to the season. They didn't play a ton of games, so they probably wish he could have honestly got injured sooner in the season because they had a long stretch where they weren't playing a lot of hockey early in the year. But it doesn't matter. The schedule is the schedule. And they have dropped, if you guys look here at our template, so the record is 7-6-1. They're fifth in the Metropolitan Division standings, and they have lost their last 3 games, and they've lost 4 of their past 5. So they're currently on a 3-game losing streak, and it's actually worse than that, than what I put here. They've actually lost 4 of their past 5. They had 1 game in there where they did win a game in their past 5 games. That is not what we expected from the Devils, especially from what we saw earlier this year. So, obviously, a huge contribution to that is the fact that Jack Hughes is not in the lineup. And obviously, he's in our thumbnail for today for a reason because, Jack Hughes is a huge part of this team. No matter any way you slice it, Jack Hughes is as much a part of this team as a guy like Nico Hischier, and I would argue even more important than a guy like Nico Hischier. I love Nico to death, but in terms of the point production and all that side of it, it is really hard to be without either one of them. Nico more for the defensive two-way center type role, and Jack obviously for that electric goal-scoring capability. Losing either of those assets in your lineup is pretty big, and especially for the Devils, who are a team that, yes, they have plenty of depth. You don't replace Jack Hughes. We all can be pretty sure about that. That is not a guy that you replace with one player. It doesn't work that way. There are multiple pieces in this lineup that you could do that. Jack is not one of them. Now, looking at their last couple of games, it gives you a pretty good idea, other than Jack Hughes, why things have not gone so well. So, in this 3-game losing streak, and losers of 4 of their past 5 games since that St. Louis Blues game, in those games combined, in the last 5 games, okay? I want to get the math right on this. 16, 18, 20. They've given up 20 goals in the past 5 games. In 2 of those games, they've given up 6 goals. In 2 of those games, they've given up 4 goals. And the only win they had, they only gave up 2 goals. Wow, amazing. The one game where they only gave up 2 goals, they actually won the game. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting stat line there for the Devils. Now, obviously, I'm being facetious, but you guys get the point here. The Devils have been giving up a lot of goals. And that isn't necessarily going to be impacted whether Jack Hughes is in the lineup or not. At least not in the sense of, he's your penalty-killing center that's going to prevent goals. It doesn't really work that way. Jack Hughes is not that player. That is more of Nico Hischier. But the other underlying story here is the goaltending. Because obviously, when you look at giving up that amount of goals in that amount of time, it's very hard to ignore something like that being on the table. Now, of course, speaking of Nico Hischier, and this kind of brings this all back to the table, looking at their injuries, they are now without Nico Daws, who we've known about since training camp, Nolan Foote since training camp, Brian Anolan since training camp, and then those other 2 guys. I would argue the two most important assets to this New Jersey Devils team, Nico Hischier, who has been on injured reserve since the end of October, right before Halloween. And now, according to Emily Kaplan of ESPN, Hughes could return as early as Thursday, November 17th, which is our next game tonight, where the Penguins will play the Devils. And that is an upper body injury. Actually, I stand corrected. I believe they play the Rangers that night, if that is the case. Let me just clarify that. Because their next game, which we're live streaming, is the Penguins game. But now that I'm looking at it, maybe we should change that to the Ranger game after. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe we'll do both. But either way, this is a situation where... Oh, geez. My bad, guys. I think we lost that screen. So anyway, I closed out of the tab by accident. But the way we're looking at the Devils right now is they have two critical games here on the schedule coming up. They play the Penguins on the road here tonight, the 16th. And then on Saturday, wait, yeah, is that Saturday? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, yes. Saturday night at the Rock, the Devils host the Rangers, and we are expecting Jack Hughes to be back in the lineup. And if the Devils go into that game on a 4-game losing skid, with the way the Rangers are playing right now, I think their record now is like 12-2-1 or 11-2-1. They have one of the best records, not only in the Metropolitan Division, not only the Eastern Conference, but one of the best records in the entire National Hockey League. And it sounds like the Peter Laviolette effect is in full force right now down in Manhattan for the Rangers. So the Devils, you don't want to look around the league too much. You want to worry about taking care of your own and your own business. But it's hard to ignore a team like the Devils that's right down the road. I'm sure Devils fans are reminded every single day watching MSG, living around New York and New Jersey and that tri-state area. I'm sure they're reminded how good the Rangers are playing and how hot they've been. This is for bragging rights. And if the Devils want to get back on track, that is their get-right game. Now, ideally, your get-right game is this game against Pittsburgh. The Penguins have been playing a little bit better recently. The Devils are definitely a team going the opposite direction. It seems like early in the season, Pittsburgh was the team in decline, and the Devils were the team on the rise. And now in the middle of November, I cannot believe we are already in the middle of November. But in the middle of November, the Devils are the team that is reeling. They've got key injuries to Hischier and Hughes. And next thing you know, the Penguins are all of a sudden finding themselves climbing the ladder in the Metro and maybe making a playoff push, right? So a lot of things have gone wrong for the Devils. The biggest thing is the injuries, right? And we talked about the Devils' depth. They have a ton of depth on the Devils, except you don't have many Hischiers and Hughes players around to replace them. And it's kind of a replacement by committee where you have a couple of guys trying to fill that void, and that is really difficult. That's not something that's really sustainable. And for the Devils, we're starting to see a really good hockey team without their top two centers really starting to fall. And they're playing the wrong teams at the wrong time. The good news is next week they play the Red Wings, who the Red Wings were very, very hot in the beginning of the season. They seem to be on the decline. So if they could find a way to win one of these two coming games against the Penguins and the Rangers, then they should be able to win that game against the Red Wings. That's a very winnable game for them. They need to find a way to pick up some points. This is what happens. You're going to have losing streaks. You're going to have games where things don't go well. But this is a young hockey team. You have a young Luke Hughes, Simon Nemec. You have a lot of younger players there in New Jersey that are still figuring things out. Even guys like Dawson Mercer, as good as he was last year, he's still figuring things out, right? So there's a lot of assets on this team that, this is the growing pains of a team in an 82-game schedule. They did so well last year, right? They ran away with the Metro, really did a nice job. They ultimately lost to Carolina in the playoffs, but they were a really good hockey team last season. They got off to that really hot start. It doesn't always work that way. And I think the combination of not so great, mediocre goaltending, to say the best, mediocre goaltending and not having your top two centers is critical. That is a really big situation for the Devils. I think they can overcome it. I'm not worried about them not making the playoffs, but we've seen all of these three teams, the three top teams in the Metro that everybody talks about, the Hurricanes, Devils, and Rangers, we've seen the Hurricanes and now the Devils both take that step backward. Carolina did it early in the year. Now the Devils are doing it. The Rangers have yet to do that this season. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of the Devils so far? I'm not that concerned. I don't think Devils fans should be all that concerned quite yet. You know, I will say there are some little things I'd be concerned about. You know, losing to Pittsburgh would be big. Losing to the Rangers wouldn't be great. Those are 4-point games. They've already lost 2 games against the Washington Capitals this year. Both of those being 4-point games. And basically what that means is that's 2 points they gave to the Capitals that the Devils didn't acquire, and those are 2 points they technically lost. And those 4-point games, especially early in the season, in a slump, could really cost you. You know, 2 points in November, a win counts just as much in February and March, and even the beginning of April. In games, 75 to 82, still a 2-point win. Doesn't matter what time of the year it is. They're obviously winning season, like good times to win. You want to be winning going right into the playoffs. That's obviously ideal. And that's another thing I would look at as a positive here, right? Like the Devils hit their stride really early last season, and they just seemed like they were trying to just maintain that the rest of the way, which they did. But I think it's one of those things where if the Devils get hot at the end of the season and they peak at the right time, that could be the best thing for them. And it's one of those things that it might not be that bad of a situation. Again, I do wonder what happens here. The goalie trade rumors are going to be coming up. Jeremy Swayman up the road in Boston. There's going to be rumors about Connor Hellebuyck. Those rumors are now gone because he's signed long term. So I'll end that discussion. But there are going to be goalies in the market that I'm sure the Devils are going to be looking at. We knew this was going to be a potential situation for the Devils. Excuse me. And I think once Jack Hughes comes back, at the very least, ideally you wait till Nico comes back, but they're going to try and figure out, like, what can we do here? And what are we willing to give away? Or what are we willing to move in a deal in order to get that goaltender? Because I would argue that is the last piece that the Devils need here. That is the last peg that they need to get. And if they can do that, guys, the Devils are going to be a really, really good team. They're already a really good team. You add a competent, strong goaltender there, and not a shot, not trying to make a shot here against Akira Schmid and Vitek Vanacek, but they have not been able to do the job this season for the Devils. Guys, that's it for today's video. Do you guys think the Devils will figure it out this season? If so, let me know down below. If not, also let me know down below. Guys, make sure to check out our Goal Line Hockey shop. That discount code is no longer available, so don't use the discount code. I'll be making a new discount code here in the very near future, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel for all the updates on that. Also, if you would like to become a member today, support the channel, join exclusive live streams for members only, make sure to join that membership program today. Guys, that's going to do it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time. Peace out, guys.